Hi, it's me, Stitches. Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome back to my series of 13 weeks of Genderween, where we pull a name every week to see who the next cosplay is going to be. So, let's go ahead and see who the lucky person is. And we have Lady Tremaine. Ooh, so that's another baddie. So that is now 3-1 when it comes to baddies versus goodies. So let's go ahead and do some research on Lady Tremaine and see what we can do. Okay, let's go! So let's look up some things about Lady Tremaine. Lady Tremaine. Get some notes. Okay, stepmother to Cinderella. Let's look up some information about her. That's not gonna help. So, I do apologize about the lighting. It's been raining all day today, so I hopefully will be nice and bright tomorrow. So, let's see. Okay, so her color palette is red, purple, and emerald. And she's got 3 streaks of gray in her hair. Primarily a red dress. Let's see if I can find a full-length image of her from the actual movie and not a fan art. Well, there she is in purple. But this is from the animated series of Cinderella. So, as you can see, it's a full-length red dress, but let's do, according to this, Cinderella is a French, it's based off of French, and in the style of clothing many have taken place in the mid to late 1800s. So, Regency would be early 1800s, and Victorian would be semi-late 1800s, because Queen Victoria passed in 1901. So, I have a feeling that... Give me a second. So I have this pattern allocated for one of my costumes I plan on doing in the future, which is a historical rendering of Hal from Hal's Moving Castle. According to Men's Fashion, this Regency style coat, if pulled off right, can pass for Victorian. But I may have to do some alterations to it. Let me look through my fabric and see what I have available, because if I can make this, then I don't need to go to the thrift store this week, and that would save me some money. As money has gotten a little bit tight this month, let's try to do everything out of my stash versus spending any money. Let's go. So these are the fabrics that I found. I found a black satin that I could use for the collar. And I'll insert a picture here because I don't think any of this is going to show up with the lighting because how dim it is today. So I did find some interfacing, which is what I'm going to need. I did find a red. Now, the pattern itself calls for, because this is 60 inches wide, for my size is 3 3/4 yard. I only have 3 yards of it. So, I think if I shorten the coat length a little bit, then I should be able to get 3 yards out of this. So I may have to do some finagling with this pattern. And for shits and giggles, I have a Halloween print that I'm going to use for lining. I am going to have to find those 8 buttons that match so that we don't spend any money on this. Because this month has been a little tight due to an unexpected family situation. That's as far as I'll actually say here on YouTube. And so we've had some unexpected finances this month. So if I can do it all out of my stash and still make it look good, then I can potentially pull this off. So we still have to go through my closet to see if I can actually use anything from there versus having to make it. But I think my purple shirt, my purple dress shirt that I have, and I have some gray pants, and I have some high top boots. And I think if I make a cravat out of this purple silk, if there's enough of it, I think this will work. So, okay, so the next step is going through the closet to see what we find. Basically, I think my purple shirt and gray pants that I plan on, actually, the gray pants are right here because I'm going to be wearing them this weekend. So when I wash those, then I'll go ahead and put that with the costume. But I feel that my purple dress shirt underneath that red fabric, this shirt, these trousers, and then footwear I'm still debating about, but I think if I still have, yes, I think the tall boots to go over the top of this. So, yeah, I think that's what's going to work out. So, I'll put these back over here because I'm going to use them this weekend. And since we did shopping here versus going to the thrift shop this week, I guess the next step is to start sewing. So, here we go. Morning. So, looks like we have a little bit of sunshine today. So, I am going to go ahead and cut out the fabric and all the pieces that need to go with it. I may need to run to the store and get some interfacing because I don't think the interfacing that I have is going to be big enough to do the collar and the undercollar. So that may be something I have to buy unless I find some interfacing somewhere in my stash. So other than that, this evening I may start ventilating the wig to get some gray hairs into that black wig that I have, and maybe start giving it a haircut. Let's get going, but first another cup of coffee because I'm still tired. Watching a little bit of Rachel Maxey and working on pattern. I've got everything all laid out that I want red. The pocket flap is going to be, that's the underside of it. The front side of it's going to be black. And same with all these pieces right here that are going to be black. Reason why there's pins in the cushions is because those pins suck. And I wanted to show you this one. Look at this. It's got 2 pins but one head. What in the world? But anyways, as Bernadette Banner says, piecing is historically, she says that, so I'm going to end up having to put a 1/2 inch there and a 1/2 inch down here because I ended up having to cut that pattern piece and move it over there. As I did not have enough fabric to do this, this is what it looks like so far. And those pattern pieces are for C and D, and I'm doing A and B. And the rest right here is going to be cut out of the black fabric. So here's what it looks like so far. So I started off by sewing the actual pocket flaps by putting the interfacing of the flannel that I'm using, sewing it all together in basically a sandwich, and then turning it inside out and pressing it. I did play around with some decorative stitching later on, just to see if it would look good, because I wanted to try sprucing up this basic thrift store fabric and turning it into more of an expensive look than basically just a thrown together look. Because again, this is a mock-up and a trial run for a later on costume that I might as well use for Genderween. So here's the basic sewing that I'm doing and the little scalloped edge stitch that I'm testing out right now. I end up using this along the end of the pockets, and I may use this around the collar once everything is sewn together as a top stitch. At the very end, it's always a good note to, if you're doing a decorative stitch like this, write down your settings so you actually know what it is in case you need to reproduce it on another piece later on. But always remember to turn your settings back to your normal stitch once you're done. Here's that scallop stitch that I use that is just a top stitch. I have the pocket flaps, which I'm going to make fake pockets. The instructions says to have real pockets, but they're just going to be fake. I have the 4 parts for the front, including the what iron-on interfacing I did have, and the rest of the interfacing I'm using is this fleece flannel that I have, that I also got from the thrift store, along with this red fabric that I got in my last video in the haul from the thrift store. So this is it for right now, probably even for today, because I am going to make some dinner and then maybe do a little bit more sewing after dinner. I don't know yet, but I also have to start working on the wig. So end of day 1 sewing, day 2, so here you go. Later in the evening, I ended up doing some more handwork of ventilating this wig. I didn't want it to be like a solid white streak down the middle of the head or the sides, making it look like a skunk. So I just peppered in some white hair from another wig that I had and made it look like an older style hair. Eventually I did go back and do some trimming here and there, but this is a time lapse of me ventilating this wig. But here's the actual speed of me ventilating one of the little clumps of hair. As you can see, it's not as fast as it looks when you put it in time lapse, and I do apologize, but as I pull through, my camera decides to go out of focus, so sorry about that. And this basically, I called it quits for the end of the day. Morning. So it's day 2 of sewing, day 3 total, which means I have today and tomorrow to finish sewing this coat. I finished the wig last night. I gotta trim it a little bit along the back, but And then today I got to do the sleeves and then the lining. And then hopefully start on the buttonholes and sewing the buttons on by hand. And then making the collar. So I'll show you what I have done so far. But I need to shower and have another cup of coffee. And hubby will be home at 3 from New York. So hopefully I can get this place cleaned up, because it's kind of a mess right now, before he gets home. So I've got a lot to do today. So drücke deine Daumen, cross your fingers, wish me luck that I can get everything done. At least to a point where tomorrow I can just do hand sewing and maybe small stuff. And then for day 5, actually be able to do the photos and the editing and get it out on time. I really hope I can get this out on time. So, wish me luck, and first things first, another cup of coffee, but let me show you what I got done so far. So far, this is the outer part of the coat itself, the pockets, the back is all done and sewn. I may need to take it in just a little bit right here, but I need to at least get it to a point where I can try it on first. And then the wig so far, I need to trim it a little bit more down at the base, down here, just so it's not so much of a blunt cut, but the gray hair has been put into it. And then I'll do a little bit more styling in just a little bit. So that can wait until Friday to finish that one up. I gotta get sewing first, but again, coffee. Okay, so this pattern is a little bit complicated. I am to this point right here where it's telling me to sew the placket points on right here, but then it goes straight into working on the lining or putting on the collar. But when you come down here and you have the lining to start to put in, it really doesn't explain what's going on. And according to the back side of it, those are supposed to be open pleats along with one fold-over pleat. So now I'm trying to figure out how this is supposed to go, and I may need to actually bust out some of my tailoring books just to see how this placket is supposed to go in the back. Okay, so I'm starting to understand this a little bit more. Once the lining gets sewn to it, this will be folded under, this will be folded over, and then those will be reopened again with the placket. And I just need to find a better lining, because as you can see, you're gonna see the lining, and that Halloween fabric was not what I intended. So now I have to go through my stash over here to find fabric big enough, because that black would have been perfect, but it's not big enough, and to recut the pieces. So maybe that green, because it's emerald. Maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Right here I'm just going ahead and stay stitching some of the fabrics for the collars so that the interfacing and the actual collar fabric don't move as I'm sewing them. This will be removed after I'm done, so this is basically just so that they don't move while you're stitching them together. Good morning! Well, more afternoon. I've been up most of the morning doing laundry and doing housework because, you know, stay-at-home house husband. So today's goal, which for today is the 3rd day of sewing and day 4 overall, which means tomorrow is doing the photos and the editing and being able to post. So right now the only thing I have to do is the sleeves and the buttonholes and the hem on this coat, and then throw together that ascot out of the purple silk. So I'm going to start working on that, and I really hope I can get it done by this evening so that tomorrow I can do all the photos and everything and be able to post it at a timely manner. So enough chit chat, let's go. So this is what I got done so far is the whole upper part of the coat, the back. I need to figure out the situation back here because the lining doesn't want to sit right, and as you can see here, it's wanting to pull the lining inward, but in order to get that to lay flat, it needs to come up higher. So I may have to do a top stitch on here just to prevent that from happening because something is pulling, but it may just be the way it's sitting on the mannequin. I don't know yet. I gotta figure that out. I also need to go ahead and construct the sleeves. I got everything laid out. The instructions are right here. And then after that is putting the buttons on and making the ascot. And hopefully everything will be done for photos. Okay, so I'm hand sewing the hem because I couldn't figure out how to do it by machine like the instructions said. So there's one half that's done, here's the other half, and then I'll go ahead and deal with the shoulder linings. I still need to figure out how I'm going to do shoulder pads for this because I don't have the stuff to make shoulder pads, but I may be able to steal a pair out of an older jacket that I have, so we'll only find out later. Okay, so I got the shoulder pads installed. Made them out of quilt batting that my neighbor so kindly gave to me. Thank you, Miss Donna. And now I just gotta figure out how I'm getting them in there because traditionally you would sew them to the seam. However, the seam is a back seam, so I may have to just stitch them to the interface or the lining so you don't see them. But if you need to learn how to do shoulder pads, I'll insert a video right here.
DIY shoulder pads because I can never find any that are thick enough. Let's go. So I went to the fabric store and I looked for batting, which is what I traditionally use, but I ended up getting this smart foam because it had these cool pull apart layers that I feel like would work really well. I pulled up my inspiration image, which is this, and then I put a piece of muslin on my shoulder and had my mom help me trace this so I can make a pattern for myself. Once I got the general shape of the pattern, I used a ruler to smooth it out, and then I flip it over and make sure to trace on the other side so it's even. I made sure to leave a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but we're going to trim it down later. Then I cut it into 2 pairs and cut out a piece of foam a little bit bigger than I needed and cut it into half so it wasn't so thick. I placed in the middle of my pattern and cut a dome shape at the top to resemble a shoulder and pin it in the middle. Then I sewed right around the edge. This is me realizing my pattern is too big. Then I left a 1/4 inch seam allowance and I zigzag stitched that so no loose threads came. Then I just pin it to the sweater on the inside, and using the same colored thread, I hand stitched it and just tacked it in. Can you tell which side has the shoulder pad?
But the material that I ended up using is just quilter's batting, and I used 4 layers? 1 second. 6 layers to do the shoulder pads, starting from the thickest on the edge and thinning it out as it goes in. So, hold on. So this is what it looks like. I hand tacked it together so that it would basically stay in the curve position, and then the shoulder pad goes like this. So you want to make it go from small, medium, large, 2 layers each, and then it goes on like this, smoothing it out towards the neckline, and there you got it, shoulder pad. So I may have to put this on the back burner because we are currently under a severe tornado watch, and I haven't even started on the sleeves, and the power keeps flickering, so yeah. So I'm just gonna cook dinner and get that ready so at least it's warm, and put this on the back burner, so it may end up being 5 days of sewing. I don't know yet. We'll see. You can barely see it.
I don't know why when you take it with the phone it won't come out like you see it.
I mean, you can see it when you take pictures, but you can't see it with the video. Well, it's technically after midnight, but I finished it. Finished the jacket, finished the ascot, finished the wig. And now it's time for the reveal when I go to bed and wake back up again and get ready and dress and everything. But yeah. Hi. So it's day 5, and last night I barely made it, but it's finished. And now I can go ahead and show you the reveal. But of course, this is me doing this before I did all the editing. So hopefully you enjoy. And here's the reveal. I really hope you enjoyed that. I put a lot of work into this, and I did it without spending any money this time. I did end up borrowing some quilt interfacing from my neighbor Donna. She was kind enough to give me some scraps that she had left over so that I could do the shoulder pads, and everything else came out of what I had. My fabric stash from getting fabric at the thrift store, and some bed sheets for the lining, and a wig that I already had, and it was causing troubles anyways, so I just hacked it off and made it a short haircut. So hopefully this is the type of content that you enjoy, and if it is, remember to please like, share, subscribe, and come back next week for another 13 weeks of Genderween. Kissy!